listening to The Motherhood Experience, a podcast where you are part of the conversation with moms, for moms, and by moms. Let's jump into this episode with me, your host, Val Kleppen. Hello, friends. Welcome back to the Motherhood Experience podcast. Here we are, the first week of June, and one more parenting perspectives, reflective, revisiting episode. I suddenly forgot what I'm calling these. Last one we did in May, I can't remember if it was the final column that I closed with or if it was one right before, but I warned you ahead of time, this one is a mood, and I wasn't sure if it was published or not. Well, I did some digging in my pile, and I found something that I know for a fact was published. So I think that was my draft. And then I wrote this instead that I'm going to start this episode off with. If you're new here, the first Tuesday of every month, I think since February, I have been reading some columns that I wrote and submitted about a decade ago when I used to write for a parenting perspectives column for the newspaper where we lived in North Dakota. And it has been so much fun for me, so cringe for me. It has brought up a lot of memories, a lot of feelings, a lot of thoughts. And I have enjoyed being able to share this part of my life with you. From the feedback I've received, you have enjoyed it as well. One story I want to share before I read this. We moved to the Minnesota side of the river in 2017. And I believe it was sometime in 2018 we started attending a church closer to where we lived than to where we had been going to church for several years prior. And I remember this couple, they were cleaning out their catch-all drawer in the kitchen. You know, you might call it a junk drawer, but I don't want to refer to that as a junk drawer in this episode because of what they found in it. What they found in it was they had clipped this submission that I'm about to read to you out of the newspaper, and they kept it in their drawer because they were just so pleased, impressed, inspired, encouraged by it. And then come to find out, a year or two later, we started going to their church, and they were like, oh my goodness, this is Val. This is our Val. And so that was kind of cool, and I'm going to share it with you today. The suggested title, and I believe they went with this, was A Poem After Christmas. So if you'll remember from the last Revisiting Parenting Perspectives episode, again, I said ahead of time before I read that draft, I was like, this is a mood. And it was. And I believe what happened was I got it all written out, and I kind of cleared my thoughts on it, and then went back and said, you know what, let's do this instead. So this is what went to publish, and I'm so thankful for it. Here we go. 'Twas days after Christmas, and all through the house, boxes, paper, and ribbon were still strewn about. The stockings were empty, the chimney was bare, yet pieces of cookies were still crumbled there. The children were fighting with yelling and cries. Electronics and toys were the sought-after prize. While I, in my sweatpants and Hubs in his cap, were praying both children would go down for nap. When out in the den there arose such a clatter, I encouraged my husband to go check the matter. The sun in the window reflecting the snow proved it was still midday, lit objects below. When what to our wondering eyes should appear but one broken snowman and no suspects near. With two little children so lively and quick, we've known for a while their answers are slick. More rapid than eagles, the damage they blame on each other, of course. It's their sibling by name. He did it, shouts one. You did, he replies, with nary a witness of Snowman's demise. Just stand back, I say, and we'll make the call. But they dash away, on down the hall. It's fruitless to fix it, the damage is done. It's only decor, and the holiday's gone. So back to their bedrooms the children they flew, with their arms full of toys, and some cookie crumbs too. And then in the twinkling, I heard on the news the latest and greatest of modern day ruse. As I drew in my head to my ostrich sand hole, not a mention was made of the coldest North Pole. Christmas was long over, the presents were past. Consumerism passed records, though these wouldn't last. Each year is more spendy and trendy at that. Gifts become status and nothing's old hat. The money is blown and the thank yous are nil. We're rapidly running our morals downhill. We're slaves of the popular gadgets and toys, breaking noses when falling for marketing ploys. It's not about Jesus or family or food, but what can I purchase? My credit score is good. Slow down, I implore you. Let's all think this through. There's more to our Christmas than gifts and to do. Our children are watching, but what do they see? The biggest and brightest, the give it to me. Once born was a baby who entered our earth to save us and heal us and uphold our worth. A manger's what housed him, no demands did he make. He took what was given for all our own sake. It's not about snowmen. It's not about deals. It's not about remote controls or new wheels. The kids aren't just fighting for a chance at a turn. They're looking for answers and longing to learn. What we teach them still matters. Our actions still count. Teach patience and kindness and grace that surmounts. As Christmas is past us and out of mind's eye, let's not be forgetful of lessons gone by. Love neighbors and always strive to do right. Merry Christmas to all, and to all a blessed night. Personally speaking, I feel that that poem far better encapsulated the point I was trying to emulate and get across, as opposed to the draft that I had written and read at the close of the last episode. So probably one of my favorites ever written by my own hand. And I still remember Barb and Carlton finding this in their drawer and saying, oh, this is Val. This is our Val. We saved this before we knew her. And I had been in their home many times since, and then they opened that drawer and there was my face peeking out from them from the poem that they had clipped out. That's just a little personal add-in to that. This next one I have listed as a potential article. So again, I'm not sure if this published or not. The date on here is January of 2017, and there's no suggested title, which leads me to believe maybe it wasn't published. But since I have no idea, honestly, and these are printed out and in front of me, we're just going to go with it here. Roll with me. I have no idea what this is about. But the first line is, I've got a bit of a potty mouth lately, so buckle up. I've got a bit of a potty mouth lately. Do you need to go potty? Can you go pee-pee on the potty? Everything revolves around, you guessed it, the potty. We've determined it's finally time for us to bite the bullet and get this potty training into full swing. Just as our determination hit full stride, however, little man's interest completely dissipated. We bought big boy pants, which I keep slipping up and calling big boy panties. We bought a training toilet that looks and sounds like an actual toilet. We provide incentives and rewards. We jump up and down with unprecedented excitement when he goes in the toilet instead of his diaper. And yet, we're still buying diapers. Little Miss essentially trained herself. All it took was her seeing one of her little friends using the potty, and it was all she talked about. She had herself trained in about a day, just before her second birthday. Little man will be 3 this spring, and I'm so over this potty training thing. When Little Miss was going through it, it was exciting and novel and a milestone to be proud of. Now that Little man is entering this stage, it's a nuisance. The luster quickly wears when you have to accompany every single time, hoping something will take place. It's so much easier to change a diaper. But we will not cower behind convenience. No, sir. The laundry has doubled. Everything is being sanitized twice as often because whoopsies are happening at an exponential rate. I'm quickly learning lightning does not, in fact, strike twice. What came so easy to our oldest is far more of a challenge for our youngest. What excited me in my early days of parenting suddenly seems more of a burden than it's worth. Everyone is happy to tell you conflicting pieces of information. You can do it in a day. He needs to decide he's ready. What worked for us was fill in the blank. Oh, that never worked for us. We've watched the Daniel Tiger video. He sings the songs and does hand actions even. If you have to go potty, stop and go right away. Flush and wash and be on our way. I'm so tempted to sing that as I'm reading that, but I also can't believe I still remember the tune. Oh dear. All right. He'll sit on the potty and sit and sit and sit. Little man, are you done? Not yet. I all but reached the end of my rope when we devoted a full day to potty training and I had to clean a giant mess off the floor, bathtub, walls, toilet, clothes, hands. That was a crappy day in every sense of the word. I take solace in knowing one day this will be but a distant memory. Hard work now will pay off in less work later. I'm sure I'll be longing for the days he used to be in diapers and lamenting over how I won't ever have the experience of potty training a child again. In which case, lock me up, because that will be evidence my mind has gone to pot-tea. Oh, 2017 Valley, we're so clever. So clever. I don't miss those days, but I do miss those days. I know what I meant there saying that, because yeah, such a sweet, sweet age. Such a hard thing to do potty training. From March of 2017, suggested titles: My Husband, My Hero, The Perfect Parent and It Isn't Me, or My Hubs, the Super Dad. Clearly, an episode about Brent the Great. Here we go. I can't wait to see what I said about him. Recently, I left home for a 5-day work trip. Normally, working from home doesn't require much travel. My client, however, was hosting a live event in Dallas, and this meant his exec assistant, me, needed to be there to ensure everything ran as smoothly as possible. It is pretty special to work from home and still be able to periodically participate in the hustle and bustle of business life. This trip in particular, however, had a few hurdles to overcome before I even had a chance to depart from Hector International Airport. For starters, my phone turned itself off and could not be revived. Do not pass go. Do not collect 200 text messages. Your calls are locked in voicemail jail. No phone whatsoever. Broken. Gone. Unrecoverable. Hours before I was leaving the state for 5 days. Perfect. Hubs relented and sent his phone with me so I could at least have communication once I landed. This is where the story gets pretty meaty. Hubs was home with no additional parent help for 5 days with both children and no phone. And he was totally up for the challenge. Before anyone goes and feels sorry for the guy, I will tell you this. My husband is far better as a single father than I am as a single mother. He is what every father dreams of being, but he's humble enough not to realize it. The children adore him, they prefer him, and he is as natural at parenting as they come. Parenting comes with a little more work from me. Mama starts to grow impatient after the second time the same question gets asked. I also don't understand why they seem to only want my attention when I'm measuring liquids to use in cooking or trying to balance a tray of hot food straight from the oven, or why they can't hear me when I make requests for them to help with something. I recently saw a sign that said, "Don't mind the mess. My children are making memories of me yelling at them to clean up the mess." This is my parenting style. Do what I said because I said so, and we can all have fun once the rules have been followed. Hubs is not this way. Hubs is all about turning experiences into life lessons and going with the flow and giving long hugs as part of discipline and making pancakes for breakfast on a school day because that's what makes his children happy. Even when his wife is away on a trip and he doesn't have an extra hand ensuring every last Thomas train is picked up from the living room floor. I missed my kids terribly while I was gone, but was somehow still able to enjoy my own queen-size bed and waking up when I felt like it. I called them computer to computer, God bless technology, and checked in on everyone and told them how I couldn't wait to see them again. And I meant every word. I came home from my work trip and was met by both children running full speed to greet me, arms wide open, preparing to be flung around my neck in an endearing, happy hug. They missed me. They loved me. They were happy to see me. And when I went in for a big hug from Hubs, they tried to squeeze in between us. Because we, as a mama and 2 kids, can't give the guy as much love or attention as he deserves. I can't think of a better equipped person than he is to care for our kids on his own and love every minute of it. He is an answered prayer for our family in so many ways. And along that same vein, I'm praying he never has to go away for a 5-day business trip. In Jesus' name, amen. Which is hilarious because as I'm reading this, he's gone for a 5-day business trip. Actually, he's gone for 7 days. So, praise God. Praise God, we're going to survive it all. And that we did survive it all those years ago. Suggested title from April of 2017, suggested title. I have 2 question marks here, so never came up with a title. She would have been 4 years old yesterday. Would haves are the markers we have to measure the time since our second daughter, Harlan, died. I thought this year I would do better. I thought this year I would cry less. I thought this year I would hold my head a little higher. But still, 4 years later, it completely wrecks me that our daughter died. Consciously, as her birthday approaches, I try to prepare. I anticipate what I'll feel, what I'll think, what I'll experience. And I'm usually always wrong. Subconsciously, I generally start to unravel around the time of my oldest daughter's birthday. All 3 of my kids were delivered between March 21st and April 25th. Each had their own harrowing delivery experience. Our middle daughter, Harlan, never took breath outside my womb. I know when the first birthday of the year rolls around, the season is an emotional one. Am I better than I was 4 years ago? I wouldn't say I'm better, but I'm certainly different. My perspective has changed. I pick up on the struggles and heartaches of others more easily than I used to. I'm freer with an encouraging word to a stranger. I used to hate the fact I was always a crier. Now, I embrace it. I don't see myself as weak or damaged or even broken. I also don't see myself as completely healed, fixed, or over it. I'm somewhere in the no man's land in between, bold but cautious, hopeful but uncertain. Over the last 4 years, I've learned to give myself permission to be strong when I have the strength to share and to fall apart when an opportunity for tender tears presents itself, and to not be bothered by either. Recently, surprising even myself, I found tremendous comfort in the words of Tony Robbins. I can't quote him verbatim, but essentially what he said was, "Nothing in life is ever lost. Everything in life simply transforms." At first, his words completely riled me up. I've always said, when we lost Harlan, she died. We lost her life. How could you say, even if you're Tony freaking Robbins, nothing in life is lost? I started to put his words to the test. Hubs and I are Christians, and we've always believed she went immediately to heaven. We believe there is life after death. So really, Tony was right. Harlan was never lost. She was transformed. I still remember one of my first trips to the cemetery, meeting another mother who buried her son 11 years prior. I remember thinking if it had only been a few weeks for me, and I was struggling so much in life, how could any parent make it years after the death of their child? Now we're here, 4 years beyond her death, and we're 4 years closer to seeing her again. Harlan was transformed 4 years ago, and the truth is, so was I. We love you, Harlan, every moment of every day. That one got me in the feels, y'all. All right, if I can see through these tear-brimmed eyes to read this next one. I guess I did away with titles. I'm not seeing any anymore. But here is one from June of 2017. Oh, also this one that I'm about to read, I think, it looks like it. This one was featured all over after it was published. A radio host read it on the radio and had people calling in to talk about it. This one entertained people, to be sure. And it's funny, I'll tell you yet another thing that has changed in our life after I read this. Little Miss is at the age where missing teeth are a regular occurrence around our home. Her 4th tooth in 9 months came out the other day and presented us with a situation that pains me to think about. With her front tooth sitting almost horizontal at the gum, she bellied up to the kitchen counter to enjoy a banana for breakfast, just like any other morning. While my coffee was brewing, this is an important fact to note, I had not had any coffee at this point. I heard her utter the words, quote, "I lost it," end quote. Excitedly, I had been wanting to yank the gangly tooth myself for several days. I turned around in time to hear her say, "But I can't find it." My facial expression turned from excitement to panic. In an overzealous bite of her banana, her tooth had dislodged and went down with her breakfast. She had swallowed her tooth. Oh no, you swallowed it? You can't find it because you swallowed it? Upon seeing my face, she immediately teared up and worriedly asked, "Is that bad? Is that really bad?" I recovered and told her it happened all the time. Though it's nothing I've experienced, I'm sure she's not the first kid to swallow a tooth. I racked my brain for reassurances, none of which came. I did the only thing I was capable of doing at the time. I drank my coffee. When I came to my senses later, I told her there was only one way for us to handle the situation. We had to file a missing tooth report with the FBI. Yes, the Ferry Bureau of Investigation. I stressed, firmly and several times, we should under no circumstance intervene with their investigation and try to retrieve the tooth ourselves. She wrote a letter to the Tooth Fairy explaining the situation, and we placed it under her pillow. As if by magic, she received an official reply from the FBI assuring her they were taking her case seriously and also stressing she should not try to retrieve the tooth herself, but should leave it to their trained professionals. She immediately asked Hubs and I if we had written the letter. Stinking smart kids. We tried to dissuade her by answering her question with more questions. Why would we write that? What makes you think it was us? Doesn't it say who it's from? In her excitement, she came to terms with the FBI's response and agreed to wait for them to follow protocol and process the payment due her. Looking at her with her missing teeth gives me a sense I can hold on to her littleness for a while longer. She's still my little miss who loves fairies and all things princess. She's adorable as can be with that large gap behind her lip. She's also growing up and catching on to things. While her toothless grin gives a window into her youth, it's also a reminder she won't stay little forever. Oh, those were the days, mamas. I think I also submitted a picture of the letter with this column, which I wish I had right now. I could probably dig it up. If I find it, I'll try to post it as a social media post. What's funny about that is little man has never known the Tooth Fairy. We don't do, okay. Let me just say right now, if you are listening with little children nearby, please pause or put in headphones to make sure that I am not ruining something for your family in the next few sentences. We don't do Santa Claus or Tooth Fairies or Easter Bunny or any of that stuff. We did it for a little while with our oldest, and by the time our youngest was here, it was just something that we were personally convicted, changed about, where we were like, we're not going to do this pretend stuff anymore with our kids. We will still enjoy these life milestones, these holidays, all of that. We're still going to enjoy it. We're still going to make memories from it. We're just going to leave the fairies and the bunnies and the magic present men out of it. So that's what we did. So the fact that one of my most popular columns ever was based on an incident of something that we did not do that much longer afterward is kind of funny to me. But Fairy Bureau of Investigation, that was a classic crisis moment solution, came in clutch for us. All right, this one from August of 2017. We've started a new way of life this year in many aspects, and school is no exception. Surprising even myself, we've taken the plunge into homeschooling. Once upon a time, I swore I would never homeschool for a multitude of reasons. What I'm finding is the more I say I'll never, the more that seems to be exactly what ends up happening. Earlier this year, we ordered the curriculum for Little Miss to experience second grade from the familiar surroundings of her own home. We have a designated schooling area that suits the job wonderfully, though you won't find any pictures of our homeschool room on anyone's Pinterest board. The first day of homeschool coincided with the solar eclipse, which couldn't have been better. We made viewing boxes and watched what we could of the moon passing before the sun, and it was the highlight of our first day. We recorded some data, drew some diagrams, and shared our findings. First day of science. Check. I'm finding I'm really enjoying homeschool, and thankfully, Little Miss is as well. Even doing pre-K with Little Man has proven a sweet time for all of us. The curriculum is as entertaining as it is educational, and Little Miss is always excited to turn the page and learn more or put an experiment to the test and do the next activity. Aside from the educational standpoint of homeschool, I've come to especially appreciate the family aspect. First, I'll confess, I was worried I would go stir crazy being mother, chef, maid, and teacher. I've come to find it's a very natural role for me, however, and the additional time we've spent together has made us a far more cohesive bunch than when we had a 7-hour break from one another each day. There's no morning rush to get out the door, or for the slowest eater in the world to finish her breakfast before catching a bus. We eat breakfast as a family around the table every morning, and it sets the tone for our entire day. My eyes have been open to the plethora of extracurricular teachable moments available to us as well. A puddle provides prime opportunity to splash and burn energy, but also to learn about the water cycle, the weather patterns, and why it's important to take care of our environment. Canning salsa, a former, quote, mom-only task, end quote, was a first-week homeschool bonus activity incorporating math, science, the beloved home economics, and, obvious bonus, we have salsa. I never would have pegged us as a homeschool family and had long since cast it out as a possibility. Now that it's our reality, however, we all love it. Our family is learning together, and that's my favorite part. And here we are, 8 years later, still going strong with the homeschool game. September of 2017. Every day I realize more and more how not so little my children are. Their nicknames of Little Miss and Little Man will soon be irrelevant in reference to my big kids. Little Man is obsessed with how big and strong he is, taking every opportunity to flex his muscles or help carry something. Second to his strength is his independence, which grows every day in tasks he wants to complete, quote, by myself, end quote. Little Miss is all but a young woman, exercising meticulous care in her wardrobe choices, talking with her hands, and figuring out all of life's mysteries. Her inquisitive mind is too smart for any potential wool Mama might try to pull over her eyes. The greatest sorrow I have over my kids losing their littleness is the fact our days of snuggling have become few and far between. Mama's lap simply isn't big enough for both kids, and they're no longer comfortable sinking their heads into my chest. They've got their own wit, their own goals, and their own agendas, not wanting to do what Mama advises or asks them to. They even tell their own jokes now. My favorite from Little Man is an original 3-year-old's masterpiece. Knock, knock. Who's there? Banana bread. Banana bread who? Banana bread! It makes me laugh every time. Who wouldn't be excited to have banana bread at their door? A recent joke made up by Little Miss is not at all my favorite, and it goes, knock, knock. Who's there? Interrupting Mama. Go to your room! She's clever, that one. A little dagger to the heart, but clever. And if I'm honest, I probably deserve the butt end of that joke. All this to say, they aren't my little munchkins anymore. A little man who can simultaneously tell a banana bread joke and carry firewood has earned his rights as a big kid. A little miss who dresses herself in accordance with the weather forecast while she may not ever make her bed or figure out how to put dirty clothes in her hamper is still showcasing a degree of responsibility we always hoped would emerge. And yet, at night when I'm sure they're fast asleep, I may still sneak into their rooms to make sure they're tucked in and covered up and admire their sweet, snoozing faces. I may still carefully pick Little Man up from his bed and rock him while he dreams. I may still whisper lullabies in Little Miss's ear in the middle of her beauty sleep. I may still do whatever I can to hold on to the fleeting youth of these precious kids in my care. The toughest job we have as parents is to raise our kids to be independent thinkers and responsible beings. And perhaps the toughest jobs our kids have is to let their mamas snuggle them, no matter how independent, responsible, or big they get. Goodness me, the waterworks today are a real thing. Time is a thief, huh? Speaking of time, the last Parenting Perspectives column I hold in my hand. Who knows if this will make me laugh or cry or all of the above, but my goodness, I was not prepared for the choking up of today's episode. November of 2017, my final column. But I think at the time I was not aware it would be my final column. I don't know. After priding myself in handling all the preparations for our first winter storm of the season, I tucked myself in bed the night before the snowfall, snuggled up with my swollen parenting ego. The kids had spent the day with me while I worked my tail off battening down the hatches in preparation for wind and snow. I felt somewhat superhuman, manning the chores and tasks needing to be taken care of before the weather turned, and I let the sunshine and productivity get to my head. While the kids played kickball and dirtied up toy dump trucks, I modeled responsible behavior in making sure every I was dotted and every T crossed in our winter prep. The kids watched while I worked, and I felt a real sense of parental achievement. We ended the day with a fire outside in the fire pit and an impromptu homeschool lesson on why wood crackles and pops when it burns. Mentally, I patted myself on the back repeatedly for being such a well-prepared, responsible parent, not only in caring for our home, but in teaching my children the importance of due diligence. The next day, however, Little Miss and Little Man watched as Mama swallowed a heaping serving of humble pie. After Hubs brought the winter clothing down from storage, I rummaged through it all only to discover neither child had appropriate winter weather attire. Superhuman Mama had overlooked one of the most important annual chores of ensuring everyone has coats and boots in the appropriate sizes. As the children were getting ready to play outside in the skiff of snow, I was feeling a little dizzy from how quickly my big head was deflating. Thankfully, getting appropriate winter gear is a relatively easy fix, but not in the middle of a storm, and not in the moment the children are waiting to go outside to play in the very weather they need to be wearing the winter gear for. I scrambled to make something work. Little man wore a coat entirely too big, with sleeves rolled up and hood cinched tight. Little Miss wore rubber rain boots over 3 pairs of socks and as many sweatshirts as we could pull or zip up over one another. Snow angels and miniature snowball fights erupted all over the yard as both kids had a total blast. But I stood in shock and disbelief. I had forgotten the most important winter weather preparation of all, making sure my kids would be warm enough. My kids may have learned about crackling firewood, but Mama learned to make a list and check it twice. Despite my best efforts, I wasn't prepared for the humbling dose of reality of just how much of a mom in progress I am. More than that, I learned my kids warm up from the inside out. They had more fun playing outside than they had shivers, and I know, and am thankful, that's what they'll remember most. There you have it, mamas. If you wouldn't mind leaving us a 5-star review wherever you listen to podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, any of the other streaming platforms. If you're watching us on YouTube, please give us that thumbs up for this episode. I would greatly appreciate it. And I hope the Revisiting Parenting Perspectives episodes series has been enjoyable for you. I was not prepared for the emotional roller coaster it would be for me. However, I am so grateful for the chance to revisit these windows of time in my earlier parenting years. So glad I documented them, even the hard things. I'm so glad. I can see in the time since these were published how we have grown in our responsibilities, our convictions, our habits and practices and disciplines. I can see how we've relaxed on a lot of the non-essential, non-important things. And I can see that I was really, really hard on myself. And it wasn't all justified. I love my kids so much, and I loved them so much, even when things were chaotic and difficult and challenging. And I was the best mom I knew how to be. And they have turned out. They have still turned out. Praise God. I hope that encourages you. Don't be so hard on yourself. Enjoy the moments. Embrace the moments. You've got this. You've got this, and your kids will still turn out. Thank you so much for joining us on today's episode of the Motherhood Experience podcast. To join our exclusive TME community, head over to themotherhoodexperience.com/learn more. Be sure to follow The Motherhood Experience on Facebook or Instagram, and please leave us a 5-star review wherever you listen to podcasts. If you're watching on YouTube, leave us a comment below, and we'll catch you next time.